I went to load the videos last night and I realized that when I was doing my staking video, it shut off. I don't know how long I was talking for. 15 minutes maybe? I never noticed that it had shut off at Memory and Imagination. I'm not really sure why it shut off at Memory and Imagination, but it did. So I'll pick it back up and run through the staking quick. Now, obviously some of the jurisdiction stuff, Ohio, when I roll over Ohio and just say Ohio, there's also the standardbred that, like we're talking, the Ohio Sires, all that stuff is going to be paid out. So I just listened to some of the video and I said, oh, this horse, Ohio, this horse, Ohio. When I say Ohio, it's the Ohio breeders that, we're going to stake the horses straight through. I don't think there's any horses in our midst right now where I'd be like, we're just, I don't think so. I'm pretty happy with what we have for the entire state of Ohio heading into 2024. So, Memory and Imagination, we left off. I'm going to recap that a little bit. I think his first start will be at the Bunker Hill on May the 16th. Now, we might have a prep race, but it's tough. For a horse that's made that kind of money and won 3 races, now you're going into the straight numbers of 4. It's not an easy thing to do. I guess numbers are 3, but not more than 5. That's a class that, like, Carter Michael Dio is racing in right now. And at that time of the year on a fast track, they're going to go 54, 55. So, although I'm not super concerned, it is a tough ask first time out of the gate. I hate the prep races at the start of the year. They're always tough for horses that had... they're always tough for horses that had a good 2-year-old season. So anyway, Memory and Imagination... likely the Bunker Hill will be his first start. Then he can do 2 Pennsylvania Sire races. We're not going to Canada. And again, I'm assuming he trains down and is at par or better than last year, right? I can't assume anything, but looking at the colt we had last year, looking at his schedule, it's important for him to be in those 2 Pennsylvania races, because after that he's going to Kentucky. And those 2 races, if he does well, will get him enough points. Remember, Spitfire Overseas made the final in Pennsylvania last year, and he had missed the entire summer. So if he does well in those first 2 Sire Stakes, there's a very legitimate chance that he could be eligible for the Pennsylvania Sires race. And I believe, if it's not him, it's another horse. That is important. I'll get to it. So then we would look at, after the Pennsylvania Sires, you go to the Courier Knives, and that would lead you 9 days right into Oak Grove. That's perfect. So 9 days right into Oak Grove. We'd stay down in Oak Grove. There you have the 3rd Pennsylvania Sires. Probably, although we'll pay him into the Arden in case things go awry, I don't think you're going to see him come back up to the Arden. Now again, I'm doing my best to be super conservative. This is a $250 one-time payment for the Arden Stakes. And they go the exact same day as the Hambo. I toyed with this, and it was actually after talking to our client saying, if he's going to be so strong in Kentucky and so strong in Pennsylvania, staking-wise, do you really believe the Hambo is an appropriate place for him to go? I don't love the Hambo. Listen, I love the Hambo. The problem with the Hamiltonian is every good horse in the world is there also. So if we were going to pick one from last year to put in it, which I think is fair, it would be Pickpocket, I would think. So Memory and Imagination, we'll probably skip the Hambo payment with him, because right after that, 8 days later, is the first Kentucky race. So we could easily go easy on him, go from Oak Grove, and actually do what we did last year. Actually makes the most sense. Give him a break. So you have I'm just looking here, the 14th of July, and then you'd have exactly 3 weeks till the next Kentucky race. So we could go up to Pennsylvania and race in the Arden. Now that I say it out loud and I'm envisioning this path in front of me, maybe just give him a week in the field and get him ready for Kentucky might be the best thing. And I think that's and as it is only $250, I think in this particular case, it's actually a waste. So it's important for me to, flesh this out right in front of you also, because there are some issues that I want to resolve also with these horses. So now we have Kentucky. Kentucky. We're not going to worry about the Beal because we're in Kentucky. Now, the 4th leg of the Kentucky Sires is virtually the day before the final of Pennsylvania, which is 6 days before the final of Kentucky. It's very important. If we do well in Kentucky, I think we start him in the B division. If we do well in Kentucky, and again, he might come out and be an okay horse. We'll just say, we'll go to C. Or he'd be a nice horse, and he did race in the A final last year with Carl. So we could race in the Kentucky C, or the Kentucky A or B. The final for Pennsylvania is the 9th, which is the day after the 4th elimination. Now, I'll be up front with everybody. Memory and Imagination raced in 1 and made the final of the A's last year. So if we like this horse and we race him in 3 of the A's, I'm certain, if he does okay at all, I'm certain he can make the final. So now we're looking at, we have the ability to race in the Pennsylvania final and the Kentucky final. There's a reality right here. So I think that's what we'll be looking at. And after you go, I'm assuming it's going to be the A. After you finish the A final, that's September the 15th. I'm not going to run them up. Oh, you can't anyway. We have the Keystone Classic at the Meadows, but I think we'll just maybe stay right down. Here's the problem I have, right? The Bluegrass, 50 and 3, that was tactical approach. 3 divisions going for 78. When you have to pay $2,200 to race for 78, I'm not really cool with that. So we might just skip the Bluegrass, although it's very prestigious and I like the Bluegrass. I'm on the fence here, but to pay $2,200, there's not going to be less horses in Kentucky. In fact, one could argue there might be 4 divisions this year, which would make it even less. Then we have Corbin starting up Keystone Classics the 26th. So his last race would be, at this point, would be the Kentucky final on September the 15th. The next race for him in Corbin is over a month away. In between those two, no, it's exactly 3 weeks away. So we would skip over again the Breeders' Crown to choose Corbin. I think that makes the most sense. Again, we can make the first payment of the Breeders' Crown if everybody wants to, but again, I think that might be $600 sunk into something we don't need. I just outlined a very lucrative year for him that doesn't include the Hambletonian or the Breeders' Crown. We go to Corbin. After Corbin, you go. You can simply go to the Matron if you want. Go to the Carl Erskine in Hoosier. Since we're already in Kentucky, I guess the Carl Erskine makes the most sense. It's not like the Matron was a walkover. They went in 55 last year and went for $127,000. Carl Erskine went in 52 and 1. But keep in mind, that was at the exact same time that the Carl Erskine was at the same track, almost a week or so apart from the Breeders' Crown. Let me see the exact date here. It was the 26th. It was 5 days. So we didn't have anybody racing it, but there are going to be horses racing it, and there won't be this year. None of those big horses that are going to the Breeders' Crown are going anywhere near the Carl Erskine. So again, you have the periphery of the top 3-year-old division. And whereas you have the Matron, you're going to have horses going down to the Matron. So as I say that out loud again, it might make the most sense, even if you, and you can't actually. The final in Corbin is 4 days after the Erskine, but I can tell you what is, and 2 days to the Matron. I can tell you what is 10 days later is the Star Destroyer, the Bally's, and the Thanksgiving race. Now, if we keep Memory and Imagination great, if we decide to sell Memory and Imagination online or in Harrisburg, all these stakes are right on top of that, which only drives this price up, I believe. So there you have it for Memory and Imagination. Almost a perfect year from what I can see. The Bunker Hill, PA All-Stars, we're not going to go to because we're going to the Bunker Hill. PA Sires is the first division. PA Sires second division. Courier and Ives is on his way to Oak Grove. Oak Grove final. Now you're at 7 races. You can then race in Kentucky. Go 1, 2, 3. Now you're 10 races. Kentucky final, Pennsylvania final, 12 races. Corbin is there 2 in Corbin or 1 this year? 2 in Corbin in a final. So now you're looking at 18 races, which is getting very difficult to do. And at that point, you're looking, well, we're going to sell them or keep them. If we do or we don't, you could still race them in these 3 races at the end of the year. no problem at all. That bumps him right up close to 20. So that's a lot of racing for a 3-year-old. And as I say that, that isn't counting the Breeders' Crown. That isn't counting the Hambo or the Bluegrass or any of those big races. A very lucrative, strong year for Memory and Imagination. Almost 10 minutes talking about one. Militant. We're just going to hang out in Kentucky with this guy, I think. We'll make the New Jersey payment, but I don't know if he'll be going to New Jersey. That is important because if people are looking to buy this horse, he goes out and races good his first start, which will likely be at Mohawk. If he goes out and races good and people are interested in him, it is important that he stays eligible to New Jersey and Kentucky. Mounds for All. This is a little more difficult one. A lot of this will depend on how he trains down. I think we make the Bobby Weiss payment. That makes the most sense. I doubt we'll go anything other than Indiana for this guy, right? We'll go to we can pay him into the Bobby Weiss, but after that it'll be straight Indiana all the way through, and I think it probably makes the most sense to pay him into that Star Destroyer, the Bally's Thanksgiving at the end of the year. Mountaineer Prince is going to be going to Michigan. My Wicked Heart, just very modestly staked in Ontario. Same for Never Lose Felix, very modestly staked in Pennsylvania. No Chance in Hill will be Ohio. Officer Soldier Boy, Brenda's horse, will be Ontario. I believe we can probably pay him into the Battle of Waterloo, I suppose. She likes the colt very much. It's a good-looking colt. It's hard to say. He looks good the way he is, and she owns 90% of them right now, so I suspect the Battle of Waterloo makes the most sense. This was a homebred colt that was sent to us not that long ago. Oh Hill No will be Ohio. Ohio for her. Oh Snap You will also be Ohio. Paycheck Princess, modestly staked in Pennsylvania. I think she likely could be ready for the March 6th stake. So we'll likely pay her into that and the Bobby Weiss after that. We'll see how that plays out. Pelican Owl will be staked in Ohio. Pickpocket, another difficult one. Let's see if we can do this quick. I had toyed with the idea of the Dexter Cup, but I think we've since pushed that aside. His first start will be the New Jersey Sires on May 11th. What we do in between, if we have a prep race or something, we're just going to drag our feet until then. There's no rush with him, and this is why. It's very important. New Jersey Sires, first, second, final, hopefully. I believe the Good Times, elimination and final could be after that. There's 5. Right after the Good Times, 9 days later, is Oak Grove. Oak Grove, final. There's 8, right? We could pay him into the Hambletonian very easily. The Hambletonian is 13 days after the Oak Grove final. That's a great timeline for him. So you could have Hambo. Now you're at 10. Right after the Hambo, 6 days later, unfortunately. No, right on. 8. Oh no, you're going to have to miss the first Kentucky Sires with him if by chance he makes the Hambletonian final. If he doesn't, it's neither here nor there. So the Hambo final or the first elimination, one or the other, but we still have lag 2, 3, 4. I don't think we go to the New Jersey Classic. We're not going back to the New Jersey Classic with him. I have no interest in that. So we're going to be in Kentucky throughout now at this point. We will likely go Breeders' Crown with this guy, which will negate Corbin, I guess, but we've already paid him into it, so we can make a decision. If at that point there's some killers or Carl's running off the screen or all these good horses come back and we say, let them play at the Breeders' Crown, we'll go to Corbin. That's an option also. And the same thing with him. I think we maybe pay into these last 3 ones. They just look like good stake races to close out your year. You don't have to go to them. They're not super expensive. They're $300 this month and next month. They're called the Star Destroyer. The Bally's is new this year, and the Thanksgiving Trot. The Thanksgiving Trot went in 53-4, one division for $58,000, and the Star Destroyer, one division for $60, went in 52-2. But again, keep in mind, last year this is the same time all of the Breeders' Crown horses were in Indiana, right, at that time, and they're not now. So I think that's a pretty fair thing for Pickpocket. The contrast from Memory and Imagination is obviously the Hambo and the Breeders' Crown, but 2 different jurisdictions, right? Pennsylvania negated the need to look at that. We don't need to gaze closely at the Hambo and the Breeders' Crown because there's tons going on for Memory and Imagination at that point that don't include those races. Whereas Pickpocket doesn't have a whole lot going on at that time. Corbin and the Breeders' Crown mix a bit, but we've already paid into Kentucky, right, with our Kentucky payment. So if we choose to to deviate from the path that I just said, it's not really a big deal at all. Prince Charmer, just Ohio. Very happy with the way he came back in. Princess Dream. I had said to our clients, Ontario, and then maybe the Breeders' Crown, but it's at the Meadowlands. She's not a big filly. And at this point, if she had a fantastic finish to the year, the Super Final is 6 days before the Meadowlands, before the Breeders' Crown. Do we really want to take this filly, race her all throughout the year in Ontario, never leave Ontario, win the final, and say, okay, get on a truck and go 8 hours down to New Jersey and race against the best fillies in the world? No. She's just going to stay in Ontario. Pull the Shoes is going to be staked modestly, but I have high hopes for this filly. Not like going anywhere special, but we're going to have a lot of fun in Pennsylvania. You got the Courier and Ives, the Arden, the John Simpson, the Liberty Bell, the Keystone Classic. There's lots here for this filly, and should have a lot of fun with her. Purple People Eater, just Ohio, much along the same lines. Ready for Landing's one of the more trickier ones. Arson, Pickpocket, Memory and Imagination, Ready for Landing. Now there's 3 very established horses mixed in with a maiden. Now, I talked about this to clients and to my wife, and I'm trying to figure out the best way for this guy, and I think the only way you can do it is stake him appropriately. If we stake him into the Bobby Weiss, that's factoring in he's going to race twice more before we turn him out, right? I believe, and a lot of what I'm about to tell you is predicated on the conversation that James and I had. James is a pessimistic person. No, he's not pessimistic. He leans rationally and realistically, especially from a driver's standpoint, a professional driver, somebody who drives a lot of horses. So I called him the other day. I said, I'm having some trouble with the staking on Ready for Landing. I liked the colt last year. He was erratic and hot, but he seemed fast, and we put him away for that very reason. Now he's back, and he seems very subdued, very smart, understands his job. The other day it was unfair because you thought he was slipping. If you go back and look at his qualifier, and you've sat behind him a number of times, and I have not this year, what could you see this horse being a good horse? He said, I can't see him winning the Hambo, but I think he could be a good horse, or he might just be an ordinary horse. He's going to be a useful horse regardless, so we'll start with that. He's going to be a useful horse. If we go to the Bobby Weiss, now you got 7-8 starts in 2024 under his belt before you even get to stake season. Makes no sense to me. So we aim for the New Jersey Sires, right? If he doesn't go, he doesn't go. And if he's good, but you just don't think he's there yet to be that killer, then you continue to prep him in Ontario and aim for the Good Times, which is on June the 7th, right after the New Jersey Sires. If we don't think that he is a focused racehorse on his toes and at the top of his game at that moment when he has to go there, May the 11th, then we simply just hit the pause button and say, okay, let's prep him a couple more times. Namurs of 3. Hopefully we're in the Namurs of 3 at that point. Namurs of 3 in Ontario, and get him ready for the Good Times. It's not unrealistic to see a horse bounce into the Good Times off overnight races and do well. And if we keep this horse's stress level down and keep him subdued all summer, I think we're going to turn potentially 13 races into 18 races, but 18 quality races. And I think that's what we're after. So we'll pay him in the New Jersey Sires, but understanding we're not going there unless he is ready to do some damage there. And if he isn't, we'll keep him paid into the Good Times in Ontario. The Good Times in Ontario went for $250,000, went 52 flat. There's no walkover. It's going to be tough. And it's hard for me to say Good Times in the same sentence as Ready for Landing when he's 4th in a maiden the other night. But I do see the talent there, and that's why the conversation with James was so important. If he just said, Anthony, I just don't see it, awesome. Bobby Weiss, overnights, smaller stakes. When it comes to this guy, I think we go Good Times with him. Next, I think we should go to the Zwag. It isn't a hunting ground for the top colts. They went to 51 last year. And why isn't it, I wonder? Yonkers Trot's not far away from there, so they're not going to Yonkers Trot Zwag. But I mean, aside from the Stanley Dancer, which is 9 days later, I don't know why people don't go to the Zwag. So I'm going to say Good Times. We start him in. Then we aim for the Zwag. We miss the Stanley Dancer at the Meadowlands. It's a fortune to pay into this thing. The Muscle Hill, no interest in that. But truthfully speaking, if we have that horse, I would save the money I have to give him the potential to race in the Hambo if he's good enough. And this is the one horse I'm going to advocate for aggressively staking when you don't really need to. The problem with not the problem. When you look at the Stanley Dancer and say, I don't want to pay into it, it's $500 this month, $1,000 the next month, then $1,500, then $2,000. That's a lot. That's $5,000, not counting the starting fee. That's the nomination fees. The Hamiltonian is $2,000 one time this month. That's it. Or we skip the Hambo, focus on the Beal. But at this point, he's only raced in the good times and the Zweg. And if he's done any good at all, you say, okay, we're going to go to the Beal, no problem. The Beal's tough too. There's $3,750 to keep him eligible to the Beal. Now, Brace for Landing was second in the C division, which went for $100 last year. So it's a pretty good stake race in that regard. If we're going to spend money, it might even be better to spend the $3,700 on the Beal and forego the Hambo. Again, this is a horse that has not proven anything yet. My hopes and dreams can't drive this bus. The New Jersey Classic, again, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to be racing in. If he's not good enough to be in the Hambo, and we race him, say, in the C or B division, the last place you want to be going into is the New Jersey Classic. And we could retreat easily to Canada. One payment of $500 Canadian gets you into the Simcoe. Went 53-1 last year, so $177,000 one division. This is ongoing at the New Jersey Classic, so you're not getting the true blue killers aren't showing up there. So I think that's a good spot to be also. And if you want to stay in Canada, you could go to the Canadian Trotting Classic. That's a little bit different. Canadian Trotting Classic goes for $660, went 51-4 last year. So that's just 8 seconds, 7 seconds faster than he's been. So this is a hard conversation for me to have. A little bit of New Jersey mixed in with a little bit. Well, you have Pennsylvania with the Beal. The Beal's a great stake, I think. That's one worth getting into. So as I say it again out loud in my mind, I think we stay staked in the New Jersey Sires, stake them to the good times, the Zweg. People might say, why the Zweg? Well, it's July 4th, and we don't have really anything for this horse in July. Nothing in July if we don't do that. And I mean nothing. Zero. So we go to the Zweg. You're raced on July the 4th, right? Beal doesn't start for 4 weeks, but there'll be prep races in the Meadowlands likely, but not a lot of them. Well, yes, they will. They'll have a Hambo prep. I think you're allowed in it even if you're not a Hambo horse. They don't usually have tons and tons and tons of horses in it, so I think you can probably get into some sort of 3-year-old race there in the middle of the month, which keeps you mildly tight for the Beal. And truthfully speaking, at this point, unless he went on a vicious tear, he'd still have like 4 wins, which means you should be able to get into a 3-year-old numbers of 5. They'll write you into something at the Poconos heading up to the Beal if you're paid into the Beal for sure. So now you have this Zweg on July the 4th. You have 5 weeks to the Beal. It's almost 6 weeks to the Beal. So you'll be racing overnights at that point. You can pay him into the Tompkin Gears, but they went to 51 and went for $44,000 last year. A lot of this is still open for discussion, right? I have no interest in going to the Bluegrass. One trip with him to Kentucky, and again, we could pay him into things later on in the year, right? The stuff in Indiana. Geez, they got a ton of stuff. Now, the Colonial Trot in Plainridge, that's interesting. It's the first year for it, I guess, because they don't have a time for it last year. It is the first time for it. So it goes for an estimated 40. Or we could just stay in Canada and race the Canadian Trotting Classic, but that's $3,000 Canadian. Anyway, the problem I have with all of this, especially with this particular horse, is I have nothing to go on other than my feeling and hope. But we're at a place now with Ready for Landing where he's going to turn the corner, or he's just simply not going to be able to, right? Maybe he is, and Nomor is a 3 trotter. Maybe he's just an okay horse. And now you have and I did this with Brace, and it bothered me because our clients are listening to me talk about how he's going to be a nice horse. Well, we already spent a fortune staking this horse, but it's really hard for me to really know. It's not really hard. It's impossible for me to really know. So really don't care. I'm going to stop talking about Ready for Landing. You guys know the problems I have now. So a lot of this is penciled in. I'll put the ink to it at some point in the next 10 days. Really don't care. Stake her in New York only. It's a very well-bred filly, almost the exact same line as not breeding, but the exact same line staking wise as Five Fish Species. There's so much in New York for these horses. It makes the most sense to be in New York. I mean, actually, now that I say it out loud, we compare her into the Bobby Weiss. I suppose she'll likely be ready for that. That's a possibility, but aside from that, I'm not too worried about it. Resolve Indeed will just be Ontario. With her, Rose Run AJ will just be Ohio. Rose Run Alexander will be Ohio. Just Ohio for this year. Season of the Love will be just Ontario. Sedona Hill will just be Ohio also. She sits at the bar. A little trickier here. We're going to go Pennsylvania with her across the board. Not really tricky at all, actually. Pennsylvania across the board. The Arden. For sure, the Arden. We're not going anywhere near the Peaceful Way. We're going to stay away from that. Partial, no. We finished the stakes season in September 5th with her. Do we go anywhere else? We could go to the Champlain. I could pay her into the Champlain easy enough. Went for $90,000 last year. If she's a sire stake filly, that'll be a good fit for her. And then we can race her in, or we can race her in the Standardbred in Delaware. It's a decent little stake. It went for $40,000, went in 2 minutes last year. It's a decent little stake for her, I think. I don't worry about anything else with her, though. Keystone Classic is on October the 2nd, which is 14 days, 2 weeks after the Standardbred. So we could go either way, the Standardbred or the Champlain. Either way, I think we go to the Keystone Classic with her. And then I don't worry. Liberty Bell on October the 18th. John Simpson on the 26th at the Poconos. And that'll be it for her. Not that hard at all. Southwind Idex will just be New Jersey. We'll just stake him modestly. I think he's a giant 2-year-old that he's going to make the race. I think he hits the ground too smooth not to. And I think as he grows up, he'd be a pretty useful horse for us. Very, very similar to Speed of Sound. Going to hang out in New Jersey for most of the stakes there. I don't think, like the Arden maybe, but you can't go to the Arden. That's the same day as the New Jersey Sire Stakes final. But I suppose the argument could be made, what happens if you don't make the final? Now you're just in New Jersey. So we could pay her into the Arden, I suppose, if she comes back this way. And what we do with her after that, I don't know. I don't really want to go to Indiana with her. We could pay her into the Pure Ivory, actually. When's that? That's 6 days after the first New Jersey. So if we get to New Jersey, and it turns out, and there's only one payment, and that's way late. That's down in May. If it turns out that she's not going to make it to New Jersey, we just say she's just not quite good enough. We could go to the Pure Ivory. The argument could be made, though, if you're not going to a major stake race, the Pure Ivory went 57-2. It only went... No, it didn't. It went in 55-3 and went for $80,000. It's a possibility. I'm not really that interested in the New Jersey Classic. Again, with this filly, maybe the New Jersey Development Fund stake race that went for $86,000. Oh, hold on now. There's no possible way they went 53-2. No, that was the Bluegrass. Ooh, scared myself there for a second. So where's the final? Freehold, estimated $70,000. It's a possibility. We can pair into that. Skip a number of the other things. I mean, at that point, her stake season is over. We have the Simpson we're already going to at the Poconos, so that's something we can pair into. And I think that's it. Right? A lot of these horses, we just want to be frugal but conservative also. We know where we've gone in the past and where we have not gone. I can see these same timelines, go back and watch the same videos or look at the same staking and see places where we didn't actually ever go there. So why are we paying into it? Sunset Acres Girl is just Michigan. Sweeney is just Ohio. The Priest, just Indiana. 3rd and 6th. That guy may not be with us by the time we go to stake the horses on the 15th. You know, this guy, he just has stalled out. And many of my clients know that. We'll probably look for a qualifier with him next week and then move him on. Time is on my side. Another little bit of a trickier one. What say us about him? Probably going to race him once or twice more and turn him out for a little bit. The Weiss is a possibility, but we may not have him back for that just yet. The other race at the Meadows is a possibility also, although they went in 51 last year. Hello, Dolly. The Paul Revere I thought was interesting. I don't really want to go to this is another horse. We want to kind of skip things, but you can't go to the Paul Revere or the first Pennsylvania Sires and the Stallion Series at the Meadows on May the 4th. So that's not going to happen. He's likely going to stay at the Meadows, racing this Memorial Pace here April 13th, which will lead into the second leg. The finals on the 27th, which is 1 week before the Pennsylvania Stallion or Sire Stakes, whichever he may be, at the Meadows. You go right in 7 days later. Again, you go to the next. Oh no, that's the Pennsylvania All-Stars. We're not going there. You go right into the next one at the Poconos, and then 8 days later, by May 26th, 3 of the 4 races are over in Pennsylvania. That is insane. We're going to skip to some beach somewhere in North American Cup. We're not doing that. His next race we're going to pay him into is the Adios, just because it's close by, right? We're going to try and develop this colt properly without going all over the map to get our faces beat in by the best. Now imagine having a horse like him last year and then going to have a race against Confederate. That's who's going to those big races. But there's lots of money and lots of races if you just move him around properly. So we're going to do our best to manage him a little bit better. His next race will be the Adios. After the Adios, no for the Kane Pace, 47-3 last year. No for the Carl Milstein in Northfield. Just a little too much. They went in 48-1, but that was pre. This is not the same Northfield it is now. I would say 51, 15 apiece would be those types of horses. Again, not going near though. With him, and Carl Milstein is an invite anyway. There's no payments for it. So if he is really good, we know he can get around a half. I've schooled him 2 minutes, come a half 57 with him on the half. Now that's 10 seconds from where he has to go, but I don't feel there was any negotiating the turns, any issues with time is on my side. No to the hemp. I don't care about the hemp. Again, 48-3, 49, 49-3. That's a lot of money to pay into an ABC division. I actually like how the Poconos does that for the Beal and the hemp. It's pretty cool. That is 2 weeks from the 4th division of the Pennsylvania Sires. Then you have the final. Now the final is 10 days before, 11 days before the jug. We will pay this horse into the jug. After the jug, not going to Hoosier. Keystone Classic, not going to Bluegrass with this guy, although I would love to see him in Kentucky. We're not going to the Bluegrass. Liberty Bell, we could send him out to Indiana for the Pegasus, right? They went in 49, went for 60, but now you're on a giant track, and now you have a year of racing, a summer of racing underneath him. His breeding, his gait, if he puts it all together, puts all the tools in the box properly, I'm not worried about 49 or 50 with this horse. He's always had the talent to be a good horse. So you're looking at potentially Pegasus, Circle City. It went 50-3, went for 31,000, 2 divisions last year. John Simpson Memorial, and if you want, we can look at maybe the Matron. You don't generally have a Confederate in the Matron last year, but he was just looking to show off before stake season, breeding season, or you just stay well, you have 2 options. You can go Matron, Progress. Progress. Now the Progress went 48-2 at Dover. It went for 260 last year. Wow. I guess at this point we can pay him into something like that, and if it doesn't work out, we just don't go, right? We just have a nice horse. So I think that's maybe the best way to look at him. Trevino on green is just going to be Ontario. We will pay him probably into the Wellwood. I guess it's in Ontario. Vaquero Blue Chip will just be Pennsylvania. You guys know the drill here with the Arden and the Arden and the Keystone Classic and the Liberty Bell, the John Simpson, those types of things will be for him. Same with Victory Blue Chip, almost actually identical staking calendars for them. Wander Hill will just be Ohio. Watch Your Mouth just Ontario, and Watch Your Mouth just Ontario. Westland Warrior is a little trickier. This is a very, very good horse, and you're going to see that very soon. So he's also that cool breed of Pennsylvania and Kentucky. So we're going to look at Oak Grove for him. We're going to look at Oak Grove for him. That is June 24th. First one. So we're going to go Oak Grove. Oak Grove 2nd Division. We're going to miss the first stake race. The final is on the 14th. And that goes right into the Kentucky incentive also. So we'll likely not even head towards Pennsylvania with this guy. If we're going to go Oak Grove, Kentucky, then we're going to stay down there. We do have to pay him into Pennsylvania. Heaven forbid, maybe the horse bleeds or something in Kentucky, and you're like, You can't use Lasix in Kentucky, but you can in Pennsylvania. So we will keep him eligible to both with the planning of keeping him in Kentucky. We're going to go Oak Grove, the Red Mile, and likely right into Corbin. This is a horse that we could potentially pay into the Bluegrass and the International Stallion. That's 3, 4, and 5 for the International Stallion. I like that one. The Bluegrass a little heavier, right? Little bit heavier. The Bluegrass is not too bad for 2-year-olds, I guess. 350, 450, 550. So we'll likely go Bluegrass International Stallion with him right into Corbin, and then after Corbin, probably just shut him down. I would imagine it's more than enough racing for him. And then What a Lady, What a Night will be in Illinois. Widespread Panic will be Indiana. And Winter Bells, who is apparently a monster now, big giant filly, she is going to hang out in Ontario in 2024. So there you have it. Now you see the difficulty of staking. If we were all sheiks, we could just say, just stake them all. It's not that easy. Every little bit counts is what I found in the staking, and what I'm trying to look at is what we've constantly staked to and never gone to. Why are we continuing to stake to those stakes? Once in a while, you'll have a horse that fits in there. I love the Pennsylvania Kentucky angle. It opens a lot of doors for us, and I had a lot of fun down there in all 3 places: Oak Grove, the Red Mile, and Corbin. So that was a lot of fun. I guess my trickiest staking of the entire season, now that I say it all out loud, is Ready for Landing. It's perplexing me, and I guess just one of those things where he's going to be one of our only horses that require a kind of a leap of faith, right? Arson has already proven he's a nice horse. Memory and Imagination, Pickpocket, they've already proven themselves, right? And I think their staking is more than fair. Ready for Landing hasn't proven anything, so it is going to be that leap of faith category. And really, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the only horse in our barn that fits in that file. So with that, I'm going to let you go. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. I don't know how you're having a wonderful time if you're in Ohio or Ontario. It's raining the whole time. Races are already canceled for Northfield Park tonight. So what are you going to do? Anyway, with that, I'll let you go. Have a wonderful day. Stay indoors. I guess we got football today. We'll watch football. And I'll talk to you all soon. Take care.